next thing that we want to cover is motion of the ankle and foot. So let's start with the talus. As we have talked about in our notes, if you are going to adjust the ankle or the foot, the talus is the place to start. It's kind of like the keystone to the rest of the ankle and the foot. So we want to make sure that we motion this before we go ahead and motion anything else. So the motion that we're going to do for the talus is you're just going to run the talus through dorsiflexion. So best way to do this is to pop your fingers along the talar dome. So you've got some fingers on the medial side, some on the lateral side, and then you just push the foot into dorsiflexion. So when you push the foot into dorsiflexion, you want to focus on the lateral side, the middle, and then the medial side to see if there's any restriction. So when the foot goes into dorsiflexion, the talar dome should drop backwards. And if it doesn't, that's how you know that it has subluxated. Our listing options for your talus are going to be an anterior lateral or an anterior medial. So if you're dorsiflexing and you're feeling on the medial side and you don't feel the talus drop away from your fingers, chances are you have an anterior medial talus. If you do the lateral side, you're doing this and you don't feel the talus drop away from your fingers, chances are you have an anterior lateral talus. Sometimes you'll do it right in the center and that feels restricted, and we kind of just call that an anterior talus. In the exam, I will only give you an anterior medial or an anterior lateral. Those are our two options. So that's how you motion the talus. So if we move on to the navicular and the rest of the mid-tarsals, we are going to try and motion them like we did when we did the wrist and we were looking at the carpals. So hopefully you guys have read the notes about how to find each of the landmarks in the foot. I'll make sure that they're on the S drive for you. I would definitely practice this because a component of your practical exam is being able to find the specific landmark. Just like we did in the carpals, you being able to navigate your way around the foot to tell me how you got to a specific landmark. So if we wanted to do the navicular, a way to find that is to palpate the medial malleolus and then palpate down until we find a bony prominence, or as I would always say, like a sticky outy bit. And that's how you know you're on the medial side of the navicular and you are no longer on the talus. So palpate down, find that bony ridge, and now you're on the navicular. So in order to motion this, you're going to want to stabilize everything proximal to it, which is basically just the talus. And then you're going to try with a pincer grip and try and move the navicular in an A to P and a P to A direction. So try and shear the navicular on the talus. You also want to do the same for the cuboid. So you know how to find the cuboid because you have done activator. So you're going to come off the base of the fifth metatarsal into that dip. That's where your cuboid's going to be. You can stabilize everything proximal to it and then just move the cuboid through P to A to P. The cuboid's kind of like the scaphoid in that it's got a little bit of extra motion, so you can actually push down and in and then pull up and out for the cuboid to feel for any restriction, because what you're looking for these listings are that it moves superiorly or inferiorly, and same with the cuboid. It'll kind of almost move superior and lateral or inferior and medial. So that's how you do each of those. And then you would move down into your cuneiforms. So those are the three before you get to your metatarsals. So if you orientate yourself, find the navicular tubercle on the medial side of the foot, you can come up and find, yep, that's how I know I'm on the navicular. You just drop just inferiorly off that, stabilize at the navicular, and then you're going to do the same thing and try and shear the cuneiforms P to A to P. And if you refer to your notes, that'll tell you how to specifically locate those, but using the navicular tubercle is an easy way to kind of navigate your way around the foot. So same thing, they can either subluxate superiorly or they can subluxate inferiorly. So the next tarsal bone that we want to, or the next foot bone that we want to motion is the calcaneus. So this one has its own way, a little bit different to the rest of the foot. Because the two listings that are possible for your calcaneus is that it moves laterally or that it moves medially. So you are going to basically just try and move them in each direction. You can pop your hand at the distal end of the lower leg and then just try and push the calcaneus medially and pull it laterally, or you can do the opposite way around, doesn't matter. So if you want to try push M to L while stabilizing, same thing, push L to M and look for any restriction. So if it doesn't want to move lateral to medial, we'd say that we have a lateral calcaneus because it's stuck in a lateral position.